question the publication of Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children in 1981 began a new era in the realm of Indian English writing. Answer: it shaped the course of Indian writing in English. Salim Sinai, the narrator of Midnight's Children, opens the novel by explaining that he was born on midnight, August 15, 1947, at the exact moment India gained its independence from British rule. Critics have described this as a postmodern melange. Here fragmentations, fissures, splinters serve a purpose. These elements synthesize the diverse cultural strands. Postmodernism shares a few features of modernism, but it is largely a reaction to it. Like modernism, postmodernism rejects rigid genre distinctions and emphasizes pastiche, parody, bricolage, irony and playfulness. While modernism favors scientific reason, order, logic, unity, continuity, organization and objectivity, and believes in the existence of a universal or absolute truth, postmodernism favors fragmentation, provisionality, instability, disorder, discontinuity, ambiguity, multiplicity, subjectivity, self-reflexivity, and mocks at the idea of an absolute truth, because truth by its very nature is subjective. Postmodernism rejects and subverts grand narratives and focuses on mini-narratives on the destructured, decentered and dehumanized subject. Postmodernists accept the things as they are. There is no despair, no disillusionment, no attempt to make meaning of every single act or event. Midnight's Children is difficult to classify. It recalls another fictional genre of metafiction. Metafiction is a form of fiction in which the process of writing fiction is the theme. This form developed to question the reality premise of 19th-century fiction. It has largely been used to investigate the relation between art and life. Salman Rushdie weds the two separate genres by filtering ancient narrative structures through the postmodern. Midnight's Children's epic structure. In constructing Midnight's Children, Rushdie has been influenced by ancient Indian narratives like Panchatantra, Kathasaratskaur, and Arabian Nights. All these narratives have a teller who narrates the story to a listener. This is also true of the dramatic mode, which uses a Sutradhara to narrate his story to Nadi. Here Salim is a Sutradhara and Padma is a Nadi. The choice of the epic form is appropriate for another reason. Like the novel, the ancient epic is also an amalgam of different types of narratives. Using a fifth narrator is also one narrative strategy. Salman Rushdie uses epic form in comic manner. According to him, the comic epic is the suitable form to narrate story of India. The previous literature is used as well as parodied in Midnight's Children. Epic and the comic hero. The epic usually gives us the actions of a heroic figure. Midnight's Children's hero is hardly a hero, and he seems to be the opposite of the epic hero. Instead of the handsome, gallant, virile, and godlike hero of the epics, we have Salim, who, by his own admission, is ugly with his cucumber-like nose, face stained with birthmarks, a bald head even as a young boy, a mutilated finger, and premature aging. He is often unheroic, unmanly and is impotent, first psychologically, and later, physically also, as he is rendered sterile and impotent by forced sterilization. In the Hindu epics, the heroes and gods have innumerable names. Each name is associated with a particular attribute, act, or avatar of the god. Salim also, in a mocking journal of higher education and research society, the theme of fragmentation is presented through Salim's physical mutilations. He says, "I will soon be 31 years. Perhaps. If my crumbling, overused body permits." Towards the end he says, "Now that I can see the cracks on the backs of my hands, cracks along the hairline and between my toes, why do I not bleed? Am I already so emptied, desiccated, pickled? Am I already mummy of myself?" p. 444. Metaphorically, fragmentation also indicates the loss of a sense of identity. Salim's constant search for parental figures gets him to identify many people as his parents. His biological parents are the least significant of all these parents. Metaphorically, Salim is fathered by several different men. Every time he identifies a new father, he experiences a new life, a new identity. This sort of fragmentation of identity is applicable to Salim's India also. India also has experienced double parentage in the form of native and colonial traditions that have shaped the nation. The breaking up of the subcontinent into Pakistan, India and Bangladesh itself is a complex task. In the novel, India's struggles with neighbors are paralleled with Salim's struggles with other members of 27. His family and other Midnight's children. There is constant change of names in the novels. Mumtaj becomes Amina, Nasreen becomes Reverend Mother, Parvati becomes Layla, and so on. This too resonates with the theme of fragmentation. Multiple identities. The blue-eyed Salim is born to Vanita, an Indian Hindu, and Methwold, a departing Englishman, is brought up by Muslim couple. Thus Salim becomes an example of multiple identities. Salim is so many things simultaneously. Who am I? My answer: I am the sum total of everything that went before me. I am everyone, everything. p. 370. Rushdie refuses to India as one united whole. He celebrates India as a land of diversities. He celebrates the various cultures, beliefs, religions, festivals, dress codes, etc. The same is true of the novel itself. It is so many texts at the same time: autobiography, history, mythology, memory, and so on, so forth. This sort of intertextuality is another feature of postmodern text. Magic realism in Midnight's Children. Salman Rushdie artistically incorporates the elements of magic realism in Midnight's Children. His use of magic realism as a narrative technique is intentional. He uses magic realism, the fantastic, the magical, the strange, as a useful technical tool. At its first glance, the words magic and realism do not seem to be compatible with each other. Realism is all about events that have happened, largely dealing with historical settings. On the contrary, magic concerns with the use of fantastic or magical elements in the narrative. In this novel, he retraces Bombay and India of his own children not as an autobiography but as cultural history. The history he provides is not that written in colonial history books but is one constructed around individuals and their involvement in the historical process. There are many instances in Midnight's Children where Rushdie uses the framework of magic realism. Salim's gift of having an incredible sense of smell, allowing him to determine others' emotions and thoughts, stems from his grandfather Adam, who also had the same large nose and magical gift. The novel explains how Adam's sensitive nose ultimately saved him from being killed in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Postmodern elements in Midnight's Children. History and individual in Midnight's Children. Major historical events are woven into the story. History is seen through the eyes of Salim Sinai, thus reflected predominantly through individual experiences. For Salim, born at the very moment of India's independence, his life becomes inextricably interlinked with the political, national, and religious events of his time. This gives him a strong desire to restore his past identity to himself. Realism plays a big role here in terms of describing the significant events that have happened. In recounting events from history, Salim deliberately makes mistakes on details or dates. The history we get to see in the novel is Salim's very own construction, as such is fragmented, provisional and subjective. This reflects Rushdie's comment on the unreliability of historical and biographical accounts. Salim knows that he has rearranged history. Yet, to him it is the truth, memory's truth, because memory has its own special kind. It selects, eliminates, alters, exaggerates, minimizes, glorifies, and vilifies also, but in the end, it creates its own reality, its heterogeneous but usually coherent version of events, and no sane human being ever trusts someone else's version more than his own. p.207. Without the magic elements, Midnight's Children could have been ended up as another historical documentary. Overall, the use of magic realism not only makes this novel more appealing, it also exerts another level of importance in terms of the narrator himself as well as the Indian history as a whole. The incorporation of the elements of magic and realism gives beauty and meaning to Midnight's Children. Rushdie's use of magic realism is very apt. The magic realism can, therefore, be seen as a device binding Indian culture of the past to the contemporary multicultural interface.